Another late start today, and it won't get much done because it's going to rain. The weather thinks it's actually raining now, but maybe it's falling and evaporating before it hits the ground. So, with the anticipation of rain coming, I'm not going to bring out the saw and finish off what I started yesterday. Between yesterday and today, have been a lot of deliveries and getting more supplies and stuff like that. We've got pea stone over there, got rubber mulch over there. So haven't got a lot of done, but so what I can do until the rain comes is just get the shovel out and dig out where this lower deck is going to go. And I can see some poison ivy I have to remove. I think the first time I got poison ivy was when I was boring the holes, and I think the root system maybe got onto my knees. I got holes in my jeans, and this sap got attached to me there. So as I dig now, I have to be mindful that what is this vine? Is it poison ivy, or I have to treat every vine like it's poison ivy. That's what I'll have to do, because I'm only starting to mend now. See the crust on there? Even this one down here, even though it's nearly healed, it'll still flare up and get itchy. Beautiful day today. It is nice and cool. So today I'm going to finish off the platform and start on the lower deck. Still got to design it. I'm designing as I go, which is not how you build things. You design things before that, but it's kind of really difficult to design things with roots and trees in the way. Roots kind of change the direction. It's a bonus day of work today because I thought it was going to rain all day, but it's not coming out till later tonight. Poison ivy crust is getting better. I mean, it's not as itchy now. It's forming a bit of a crust. Felt itchy on my elbow last night. I just pretend it tickles, you know, it tickles. Today, I'm figuring out this floating deck, this lower deck here. I'll have to dig out a lot of dirt still. I can see that it's not flat. And then I'll curve it around. I got to do all the balusters, got to do the railings, and work on and do the roof of that. And then I have to do the monkey bar stuff. I don't see an end to it. It just goes on and on and on and on and on and on. I found some poison ivy vine roots. Obviously poison ivy vine roots because they're hairy. So I've got these gloves so we don't get the poison ivy oil on me. And there's little vines on the tree. I've got to pluck them out. And apparently when they snap, the oil can splatter. I'm in fear. I'm just getting over it now, so I don't want to poison myself. See the hairy vine? The hairy roots? Gotta pluck those off so the kids don't get done. the oils can stay on like your tools. If you cut it, you got to wash your tools. It can infect you forever. Now I've got a sweating and I normally do this. I gotta resist. And the poison ivies can actually kill the trees too. They just keep growing thicker and thicker and thicker until the tree dies. You can learn a lot about poison ivy once you get poisoned by it. You start researching. Look at the hairies on that. You don't want to burn it either. They tell you don't burn it because the oils travel in the smoke and can infect people. So I saw this one video of a guy. He was videoing a fire, bushfire. What do you call it here? I don't know. A fire, and he inhaled all this smoke, and the infection went all over his body. It was a nightmare. So you can't burn it. It's like devil's juice. Of course, not every vine that I pull off a tree is poison ivy, but I'm too scared to risk. Treat everything like poison ivy. I'm trying to finish this deck. I'm a little bit slower than most people. I try and make things a bit too perfect, maybe. I don't think I could get a job in the industry. I get fired for being too slow. I think what I'm doing in 3 days, a normal person would do in 1. Plus, I'm not going off plans right now. I'm just going off making it up as I go. So, okay, so stop wasting my time. I gotta get to work. You know what you see in time lapse doesn't look like a big deal, right? It's just, oh yeah, get it done. But sometimes you're seeing a whole day in a matter of 40 seconds. $422 just for 19 of these sticks. Yeah. Thursday morning, and I didn't get to finish the platform yesterday because we had to go to get some wood, decking with the trailer. These are 16 feet long, and you can do it with short ones, but we found that when you put decking boards end to end, they shrink, right? They're green right now, but as they shrink, the end-to-end gaps get pretty big. And it doesn't look so good, so we're trying to do long ones without any end-to-end gaps, seams. Even though you squash them tight, make them tight, they just shrink. And oh my goodness, over 22 bucks each $422 just for 19 of those. And I went to Menards and we went to get them, and they were cheaper, like 345, 325, $100 cheaper. But they were different thicknesses. We got these from Lowe's, and the Menards are thicker. And oh gosh, we had to return those and then get these, and they were $100 more for thinner ones. But dang, it really helps to decide where you're going to get your materials from and get them consistently from that same place. If you know where you're going to get materials from and not assume that every store is the same, like get them from different suppliers. So it really affects your design and layout and everything. Okay, Dakota, or husband, or grandkids, great-grandkids, if your tree grows too big and it's starting to squash into the deck, you need to make the deck bigger, otherwise your tree is going to fail. So I've only screwed these in. They're just nailers. We call them nailers for the deck boards to screw into, okay? And so they can be removed. So here they are here. Okay, so if your tree gets too big, cut these and make them so you can expand the perimeter out so your trees can grow. Okay, and that one over there. So in my Google photo somewhere is some photos of these things. I didn't do any measurements, but anyway, unscrew those boards, make them shorter so your tree can grow. I didn't video it, but I joist taped the whole deck just now. It just took me about an hour and a half, I guess. But there's about $120 worth of joist tape I just put down. It's just to make everything last longer so it doesn't rot away. If you talk to the people in the hardware store, they think it's for stopping squeaks, but it's not. It's to make your joists last so they don't rot away. Here's a really good tip. When you're laying the deck board, make sure that tools you are using, or any tools, even if you're not using them, are not being buried underneath. Because then you've got to try and fish them out. I couldn't find my speed square, but here it is. My goal is to try and make it kid-proof, right? I know over time it's going to dry and splinter, but I've got to do what I can to take sharp edges off. I know there's going to be accidents and people are going to get splinters over time, so I just got to do whatever I can to mitigate. You know, I've got to see issues in the future and try and see what I can to eliminate those issues. And that's why things like joist tape are important, because I try and see what issues are going to happen in the future, like 10 years down the track. Is something going to go rotten? We're going to rip up some deck board to try and fix a joist or something. So project myself 10, 15 years in the future and see what problems are going to come up and fix them now before they happen. here's a tip. See if this board is warped, right? I didn't want to waste it. So I got this board thinking, I wonder if I can rescue it. So I knew it was bent this way. So I secured it at the other end. And then what I do is I get another board and I screw it here. And you make it a lever and you push it. Sometimes you can push it just yourself, but this one's really quite hard. So you just push it like that and it closes. Then you can screw it. So if you're by yourself, sometimes two people help. Get something to use your leg, push it in and secure it down. Sometimes just one screw will do it. Usually one screw will do it, but if it's really springy, you want to put at least a couple of screws in. Put a couple of screws in to secure it tight, and then you can let it go. And now it's as straight as every other board. And release this one, ready for the next. Put these boards down, I actually didn't think that the boards were going to meet through the tree there, and I didn't put a supporting joist in there. So what I'm going to do is take a board off or two and then put basically a nailer in between there so little feet don't push down the boards and break them. So it's a little bit of a step backwards, but it's got to be done. Today, I'm going to figure out the balusters. Now I purchased secondhand aluminum balusters, and they're just a little bit long, so I have to chop them down. But I'm also going to, I did design this rail here to have a handrail on top, but I think that's fine. That's fine as a handrail, but I think what I'm going to do instead is place these caps on top of the post. Like that, right? Which means I've got to drop these rails down a little bit. So I have to design that. How far down does it go? A couple of inches maybe? And then figure out what the appropriate height that these need to be, and then chop them. And to chop them, I purchased a chop saw. It's a chop saw for metal. It's just a cheap one, but it's cheaper to buy the tools than it is to hire someone to do it for you. It depends on the tool, I guess. It's not going to be cheaper to buy a bobcat than it is to hire someone, but so it depends how much you have to do. I wasn't looking forward to this. It's going to be tedious. I think it's going to take days to do. And do I have enough balusters? I don't know. I've got 190 of them. It may not be enough. Looking forward to doing these balusters because I've been watching some tutorials on YouTube and seeing people struggle with it, and they have to have someone helping them, or the one guy had a different method where he laid them down and put the ends together and screwed a brace between them so he could lift it up and put it in place, and everyone seems to be struggling with it. And so I first had issues. And then by the time I got to this one, I discovered an easy way to do it. I'm gonna have to demonstrate to you, I think. So when I did this one, I thought, oh, it's going to be easier to sand without these bars here. So I started sanding it. What takes a long time, and everything's in time lapse, so it seems really easy, right? But you might see an hour of sanding in 10 seconds. But I hate the sanding because it's all dust and goes up my nose, and spontaneously running and sneezing and everything. And so I'm sanding the whole thing, taking the splinters off, but it makes it look nicer too. But I don't know how long it'll actually last. I know the weather itself will dry it out and splinter it up again, but make it splinter free as long as possible. But it feels really nice. And one thing I don't know about is how long you have to wait for treated timber to dry out before you can actually seal it. And if you don't look after your timber, it actually deteriorates over time. And we've got friends who are actually taking down their playhouse. Because these are aluminium, we say aluminium in Australia, spelt different. Aluminum balusters were an afterthought. If this was down here, I'd just mark one and score every 4 inches, right? But because they're an after, I'm not taking this off because I'm lazy. And I just mark each one every 4 inches. So after that's done, you get these little seats here and you screw it in. Then seat your balusters in. People seem to have issues with this, and this is what I was scared of, right? All you have to do is see these seats here, they're about 1 inch high. So you got 1 inch up the top and you got 1 inch at the bottom, which means these have 1 inch wiggle room to go up and down. Okay, so you put this in place as close as you can get to it, just above it. Right, see how it's just above it there, like that, right? These are just there. That means you can now slide this up and push it in there, and it's in, right? It's loose, it's in. So you can do that to every one. Don't need anyone to help you. So I just slide it up, and it won't come out the bottom because you got 1 inch either way. There are other systems that cost more, that have a snap in place, but I think once you do it like this, you wouldn't want to pay for more than this, because I find this easy enough. And just get a block and tap them down. Then screw it in. I was really happy when I discovered that. It made a scary job easy.